With respect to the war in Afghanistan, how do you plan to rectify the problems with the supply of adequate equipment to the troops out there?
Thank you. Ruth, would you like to comment on this first? Because I know this is something that is important to you.
Well, I mean, they should never have been sent out there in the first place without the adequate equipment. I mean, it just seems ridiculous to me that they've been sent out into a war. There seems to be no clear goal as to what they're meant to be doing whilst they're out there. I mean, and now we're heading towards 300 troops, you know, and that's a hell of a lot of families that have lost someone that is very important to them, you know, a son, a husband, and, you know, half of it could have been stopped if they had the proper equipment. I don't understand why it wasn't put in place in the first place. I don't understand why you read about sometimes the Americans are feeding our troops because our troops have run out of food. I don't understand how it's allowed to have happened in the first place. You know, there should be more money there. They are there risking their lives for this country. They get paid dreadfully. You know, it should not be happening. It should have been sorted.
Thank you. James, on your website I saw a picture of you alongside our troops, helmeted and flak jackets and so on. So would you like to comment on this?
Yes, I was in Afghanistan in January, and I go there every year as chairman of the Defence Committee, or I have done, if you were to read it well. A distinction needs to be drawn between the personal equipment that the troops carry with them and get issued with, and the much larger equipment like the aircraft that take them out to the zone of Afghanistan and around there. The personal equipment is actually better than it has ever been. That's what the men and women that I meet there tell me, and they say they've got more pairs of underpants, whatever, than they've ever wanted. And the real worry is in the big kit, the numbers of helicopters, the strength and of the armoured troop carriers, the horrendously old aircraft that they have to fly out in, which constantly break down, which means that the leave gets curtailed because there aren't the aeroplanes to bring them home. That's the sort of thing that we've got to get right. And that means buying equipment a great deal better. There was a report that came out last year, the Bernard Gray report, into buying defence equipment, which the government has sort of half-heartedly taken on board. We've got to go a lot further with much more vigour in getting the defence procurement right. And having been the Minister for Defence Procurement some time ago, I'm conscious of what could be done to get it right. It's just not being done at the moment.
Thank you. Denzel.
Right, well, I don't have the experience that James has on these particular matters, but what our party stands for is we're very concerned about how this Labour government hasn't ensured that they've had all the right kit and equipment. I think there have been unnecessary loss of life. I think if we had spent more resources and money in Afghanistan than on an adventure in Iraq, we would have had a lot more funds available to help our troops in Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is extremely important. So we have to ensure that through the Strategic Security and Defence Review, that this is looked at very closely, ensuring that they have the right kit, ensuring that they have all the necessary aircraft or capability to fight what is in essence a guerrilla war, because our troops are there to ensure that the civilian structures are brought up into full capacity into place, so that eventually we can leave there leading a democratic and civil society. Because if we are not there, the danger is that the Islamabad government could fall. So we have to, and of course the consequence of that is that they have nuclear weapons. So we have to make sure that our troops are properly supported so that this mission in Afghanistan is seen through and succeeds.
Thank you. Mary?
Yes, I think it's unfortunate that the Afghanistan campaign has turned out to be not as simple as was believed when we first went in. That it has gone from being a remove the then anarchic government that the Taliban was to being a management of an insurrection, which is a very different activity. I think that my government has been slow to respond to the change that change in emphasis has made to defence requirements. Now, as James has been the Minister of Defence Procurement, I've worked on the edge of some defence projects, and I know that it can be a very slow and tedious exercise getting projects approved through various levels of the Defence Ministry and then through the Treasury. That sort of thing certainly needs sharpening up. And it's also true that, coming back to what was mentioned earlier, the defence review, we actually need to look hard at what actually is going on, what our commitment is in Afghanistan, and staff and equip appropriately. I mean, there have been a number, I think James mentioned the ageing support. I don't know how old the Hercules are in design, certainly older than dental. They're not quite as old as me. But some of the other, there was the military Airbus project seems to have gone on forever without delivering anything. So there was the plan to get replacement systems in, and that doesn't seem to be delivered yet. And that's unfortunate, but we need to look what we're doing, what we need to do it, and maybe take some shortcuts in procurement, because we don't want to end up with the wrong stuff.
Thank you. Would you like to come back?
With the Hercules and the Chinook, what are your plans? Are your plans to upgrade them? And if so, within what sort of time frame? Or are your plans to replace them?
I haven't know the answer to that.
Well, the answer to that is that this will be thrown into the melting pot in the Strategic Defence Review, which all three of the major parties here will want to. You wait all this time for Strategic Defence Review and then speak on something. We would want to look at the need to add more aircraft. Certainly the Chinooks will need to be increased in number, and the government has announced an increase in those numbers. We're working out how to play off the number of Hercules aircraft against A400Ms or C-17s is going to be something that will have to be decided by the Strategic Defence Review.
Thank you. It's time for one more question. I have said, I think Sylvia was quickest with her hand. I should just add something. We had a general come and speak here regarding the Afghan campaign in November, and he said that when we place so much emphasis on body count, we're actually doing the Taliban's job for them.